I don't know about you, but where I live, which is Berlin, Germany, in the last couple of years, inflation has been literally skyrocketing, and it looks like it has unfortunately no intention to stop anytime soon. It feels like every time I'm about to pay for something, I need an oxygen mask because everything has just got so expensive. It's insane. I get it. It can be really frustrating and really intimidating and scary sometimes. I personally don't talk from a point of view of someone who has an income with multiple zeros in it or several sources of income. So I'm just a regular gal living by myself. I live in a tiny studio apartment with my cat. And unfortunately, even though my cat is fantastic and I love her to death, she doesn't really bring home any money. So it's all on my shoulders, and sometimes it can be hard and discouraging. But despite everything in 2024, even if you're just a regular person, just as I am, it can still be possible to save money efficiently on a day-to-day basis by implementing some simple actions and some simple habits into your life. Maybe it's not just as easy as it used to be, but with the right amount of patience, commitment, and, just determination, you can do it. If I can do it, you can do it too. The habits I'm talking about are just very easy, frugal habits that can help you save money regularly just by living your normal life. And I kind of have the feeling that when you hear the word frugality or frugal, it might sound like something extremely boring, extremely dull, like you're not allowing yourself to do anything, like something very restrictive. But trust me, it's not. It's all about finding balance and implementing things that, again, can help you in the long run to save money and to still live a perfectly fine and happy and satisfying life. If you don't like the word frugal or frugality, just call it mindful living. Being mindful about what you do and how you spend your money, being conscious about it and cautious. Again, these are very easy things. So without further ado, let's get into it. Easy, frugal habits that save me money, and yes, they can help you save money too. I'm never gonna get tired of this one, but cook at home as much as possible, people. Cook from scratch. When you cook simply large batches of food. I am not someone who can be bothered with meal planning, with meal prepping. I don't want to hear any of it. I just want to cook and have some easy to cook meals that I can whip up in a matter of a few minutes. I am busy. I get easily tired and bored. When you cook large batches of food, you save yourself time and energy, and future you is going to be really thankful. If you don't feel like eating the same couple of things in days in a row, toss them in the freezer. Freezer can be your best friend, and you can just keep on thriving on leftovers for days. This is just the most effective way that you can do, especially if you have to work in an office or outside of your home. Eating out and make every day and making a habit out of it is expensive, people. So just try to think that by just cooking your own food, and again, it doesn't have to be Michelin stars, restaurants type of food, just saves you so much money. It's so much healthier, and it's absolutely doable even if you have a busy life. Be mindful with electrical appliances. I always try to keep an eye on them. If lights are turned on and I'm no longer in that room, I turn them off. I never owned a dryer for my clothes. I air dry my clothes, and I keep on intending doing that for the rest of my life. I turn off electrical appliances when I no longer need them. And when it comes to washing machine and dishwasher, I run them only full cycle. Be mindful about these things. Can save you a lot of money when it comes to the electricity bill. Maybe you don't notice it in a matter of a few weeks, but you do notice it at the end of the year. And also, it's much more environmentally friendly to be mindful about electrical appliances and how you use them. Very simply said, reduce what you buy, reuse as much as possible, repair what can be repaired, and upcycle. You don't have to be a super crafty person when it comes to repairing or upcycling. It just can be something really simple. If you buy your groceries and they come in a little plastic tray, you can reuse that plastic tray for something else. I am not a crafty person when it comes to sewing, for example. So if I have a piece of clothing that has a tiny hole or is missing a button and I can't do it myself, I just bring it to someone who can do it for me professionally, and that's going to cost me so much less than having to replace the whole thing in the first place. And that's going to impact your finances in the long run. If you're mindful about how much you buy and you reduce what you buy, and you reuse and you repair and you upcycle as much as possible, you're just doing something fantastic for the environment and just fantastic for your wallet and your pockets, because you reduce what you buy in the first place and then you keep extending the life of what you already own. Stay away from trends. Again, reduce what you buy, and when you buy mindfully. A trend is exactly what the name says. It's not something that's classic. It's not something that's meant to stay for the long run. A trend is something fleeting. It's something seasonal. So especially if you're a lot on social media can entice you to buy things that you didn't even know you needed in the first place. Don't let companies and social media and corporations tell you what you should like. Be the person who decides what you like. So stay away from trends. Just develop your own style, stick to your own taste, and just act accordingly. Because eventually you're gonna get tired of trends. If it's something that you bought just because it's trendy and not because it's something that you like in the first place, you're gonna get tired of it, and you're gonna waste so much money down the drain for something that you only use a bunch of times and then never again. For some weird reason, I live in a country where beer is much, much cheaper than water, especially if you buy it in cafes or restaurants. So what I try to do is to carry my water bottle with me everywhere, because in that way I can stay hydrated without breaking the bank. Because sorry, but if I go to a restaurant and a large bottle of water costs between 6 and 7 euros, I'm sorry, but I'm not gonna drink that water. Usually when I go out, I try to buy the cheapest thing that I can find, or more often than not, if I'm having a meal out, if I'm dining out, sometimes I even skip my drink altogether, because I know that I have my water bottle with me. So when I'm out of the restaurant, I can drink my water for free without having to spend money on expensive, fancy drinks. Ideally, I would also be the person that develops the habit of always bringing a snack with me. So whenever I'm craving something, I'm out and about, I don't have to go to extra buy something and spend more money on this. But I tend to forget quite often. So I'm gonna be frank with you. It's something I'm working on, but I'm more often than not, I forget about it. But I do remember to bring a reusable bag, which might not seem like much, but whenever you go to a store and you need a bag, you have to pay for it. Well, it's only 10 cents or 20 cents, but those add up. So just an easy way to cut a few euros here and there. This is something I highly recommend you to do. I personally don't baby my things, but I treat them good. I take good care of my things, so they will last me longer. Also, from a sustainable point of view, I don't want to treat my things as if they were disposable. That's not just who I am. So if you treat your things in the proper way, you take good care of them, you don't wash your clothes every single day, you just rewear them a couple of times before toss them in the washing machine, for example. You don't throw your stuff like all over the floor and you just walk on it and you just let your dog sleep on it or whatnot. If you treat your things and take good care of them, they will last you longer, and that means that you will need to replace your things less often. And therefore you will spend less money on replacements. Don't go grocery shopping as soon as you think you have to. Sometimes I open my fridge and I think, oh gosh, I absolutely have to go to the grocery store. I got nothing. But that's a lie, because more often than not, I can still thrive a couple of days, like a few days, without going to buy anything. Because in my pantry and freezer, I always have those staples that can ensure me to have quick and easy meals without having to buy anything new. And in the meantime, I am also using up what I already have, avoiding to buy buy stuff on top of that. When I do go to the grocery store, I personally don't like to go for teeny tiny grocery shopping sprees multiple times a week because A, I don't have the time for that, and B, I think that's just gonna make me waste more money at the end of the month. So I just rather go less often and buy more at once and just try to thrive longer with that single purchase rather than just going more often and waste more money on it. When I do grocery shop, 90% of the times, if not always, I buy store brand because store brand is so much less expensive, and more often than not, you don't even notice the difference. So I highly recommend doing that. I always go for the store brand first. I personally love this one. Whenever I go shop for things like for food, I consider this kind of like a little bit of a scavenger hunt. I love hunting for these things. Products that are on clearance because they have a close expiration date or because they are being taken out of stock, so they're being reduced so the store can get rid of them. I personally love this. You never know what you're going to find. And if I know that it's something fresh, but I'm not sure if I'm going to actually consume it within the expiration date, I just toss it in the freezer. The freezer can be your own best friend. So just stock up on these things and toss in the freezer as much as you can because it's gonna save you money later. So I know that this might sound extremely easy and obvious, but shop for things where things are actually cheaper. Do not rely on convenience just because you're used to rely on convenience. I'm not talking about those times where you're not doing good and convenience is the one thing that helps you going through that rough patch while you try to put yourself back on your feet. Because I've been there in the last few months. Convenience was the one thing that very often helped me to get to the end of the day. And I noticed that in these times where I'm not doing fine, I am more likely to rely on convenience again and to spend more money overall. When you're not doing fine, you can't focus on the bigger picture of saving tons of money because you need to take care of yourself first. So you do whatever you can to put yourself back on your feet. But if you're doing okay and you're relying on convenience just because you're relying on convenience, well, that, my friend, is gonna make you waste so much money down the drain. Shop as mindfully as possible and use coupons and cashback programs wisely. You're not saving anything if you're spending money on something that you didn't need in the first place. Use natural light as much as possible. In the northern hemisphere right now is summer, which means that finally here in Berlin, we have so much daylight. It's fantastic. So I almost never turn on my big lights. No matter how good a light bulb is, it can never be just as good as natural daylight. And when the natural daylight is starting to fade out and my apartment is starting to get too dark, I personally avoid using the big lights if I can in the evening. I just turn on fair lights and small lamps because that's also, it's not only it's saving me on the electricity bill, but it just also makes a super cozy and relaxed atmosphere in my studio that I personally really like. Exercise at home, my friends. I do it at home and I'm doing perfectly fine without a gym membership. There is literally a ginormous library of free workouts on YouTube. You don't like working out at home, you can always go outside, take a long walk, go for a run if you can run and you don't have rheumatoid arthritis just as I do. There's plenty of free ways to do workouts, effective workouts without breaking the bank. For some reason, I forgot to mention this when I was recording the video, but if you have multiple subscriptions, take a look at them and just keep the ones that you use most frequently and cancel the rest because chances are you don't need all of them. For example, if you have a subscription to Netflix, Amazon Prime, Paramount Plus, Disney Plus, well, just keep one because trust me, you're gonna do just fine even if you have just one. Buy less books. I know if you're a bookworm, this might be really hard to achieve, but it's not impossible. I get most of my reading materials from book swaps. I have a book swapping group that I normally meet with like once a month, and that provides me the majority of my reading. It's just like free stuff. We meet up, everyone brings a book, and we exchange books. And it's just a fun way of finding new reading material. I do still buy books from time to time, but I don't buy them regularly. Most of the times I found reading materials for free. There are book swapping groups, there are book crossing corners or spots. If you don't have any of these things where you live, then just organize them. Just organize them yourself. Also, don't forget the local library, even for audiobooks and ebooks. This brings me to my next point. Buy secondhand as much as possible. I love buying things secondhand. I love hunting for things at flea markets, at charity shops, online. I love it. I love a good bargain. I love, just going through things and never know what I'm going to find. I think a good 90% of my wardrobe by now is secondhand, like 85%. I love buying things secondhand. It's sustainable because the planet is literally flooded with clothes. It's flooded with everything. We have so much more than we need and we keep producing. Even better, you can borrow things, especially if you know that it's something that you're not going to use very often. You just need it a couple of times and then you'll never use it again. Borrow it from someone. Swap things with people. Ask around. Do you have this, or do you may need this thing? Find things for free. eBay, Facebook Marketplace. I personally never used Facebook Marketplace, but I know that people can make amazing deals and can find practically anything in there. Here in Germany, there's an app, like a neighborhood-based app, which is called Nebenan, which I also used many different times to get things for free or to swap things, and so on and so forth. There are options, people. You just need to be mindful about them. Just look online, look around you, ask around. Secondhand is for the win. Avoid comparison to others. And I know this can be really, really hard, especially if you're very much exposed to social media, especially if you scroll a lot on social media. I notice this get me into the trap of comparing myself to others. If I have one of those days where I'm scrolling a little too much, like a little more than I should and a little too much, comparing yourself to others makes you feel inadequate, makes you feel like you're not enough, makes you feel like others have this perfect life that you don't have. So you feel compelled to attempt to reach what others have, and you feel compelled to do what others do or have, and therefore just spend money on things that you don't really need. So you can, so people would think that you're better than you actually, what you think of yourself. Comparing yourself to others is not going to bring you anywhere. And trust me, with the time is going to make you waste so much money down the drain. And you're going to be in this constant competition and in this constant run to reach perfection, which, by the way, does not exist. So spoiler alert, it's just going to make you feel so bad about yourself, and you definitely don't deserve it. I know I don't deserve it. Nobody deserves that. So everybody, it's on their special, unique journey, and that's okay. And even if we might think that what we see from the outside is perfect, they have more, they have a better life, we don't know what's exactly going on within these people or behind closed doors. So assuming that everybody's just doing better than we do based on what we see in pictures or what we see from the outside is just so distorted. And again, it's gonna put us with the time in this constant run to keep up with the Joneses and acquire and buy what we cannot afford or what we didn't even want in the first place. But buying material things all the time is just not gonna help us, because we just keep buying and buying, and then when the excitement fades, we're just on the hunt for the next big purchase, and that's just an endless cycle it really is gonna impact your finances and your mental health overall. So try to stay true to your real self, like who you are. And just overall, I know we all have a version of ourselves that it's called the fantasy self, this person that we would really like to be, but ultimately the fantasy self and the real self don't always go together, and they don't always match. So stay true to yourself. Who are you? What do you do? What do you like? Let go of this idea of perfection that you have through the lens through which you see other people and you see this fantasy version of yourself. Sell what you no longer need. I do it all the time. Boom, there you have it. Extra cash, easy. Treat bonus money as savings. So personally, whenever I have some extra money coming in, that it's not my regular job, so let's say YouTube money, or again, I sold something, so I made some extra cash, I treat that money as savings that I can use to finance things in the future. So I put them in a savings account, like a separate one. I treat those extra money as money that I can use for my future or for my plans and projects and dreams and whatnot. Whenever you have some money that you can treat as savings, preferably don't just leave them on your regular checking account, just put them on a savings account, preferably if you can, a high interest one, because putting your savings in a high interest savings account is just free money that you get just by letting your money stay there. And that's fantastic. Who says no to free money? And personally, I started dipping my toes a couple of years ago in ETFs, in investments, especially ETFs. I put it on hold for a while, and now recently I started again, very slowly. I know, I get it, this might not be something that everybody feels comfortable to do, but it might be a very easy way and kind of like a more secure way, rather than just checking the market every day and buying and selling stock every single day. I'm not a financial expert, so I'm definitely not going to do that, but it's just an easy, safer way to put your money on the side and let it increase without doing anything specific. But you just need patience, because that's going to pay off in the long run. So you're not going to see immediate results now, but you're going to see them in a few years. No spend days. I personally love noticing when I have those days where I don't spend anything, because that's just a fantastic way of cutting off things that you don't need. Sometimes I don't even realize it. I thought, okay, today I didn't spend anything, and that's fantastic. And you can do it too. You can plan in advance, of course, by doing, for example, like many of the things that I just mentioned. But it's not impossible. You don't have to spend money every day. You can still do a perfectly fine life without having to spend. The key is to be prepared and to just commit to it. But it's much easier than you would think. Because again, sometimes I realize it at the end of the day, how easy it was to not spend anything on that particular day. Do a reality check and simplify your life as much as you can. Declutter, stick to what you need and what you truly love. Appreciate as much as you can what you already own, and stick to your priorities. Love yourself for who you are, because the more you have, again, with this comparison to others and trying to reach this perfection that you will never reach anyway, the more you'll have, the more you will want, and you will never be happy or fulfilled in the long term. It's never going to happen. So living more simply, I personally noticed all of these years I tried to be more frugal and mindful and, you know, just live a simple life. And I noticed that this not only did good to my finances, but also overall to my general well-being. It's a journey. So it's not like it's going to happen overnight. And it's not like it's always going to be downhill. Sometimes it's going to be uphill, but it's extremely beneficial. And I can only highly recommend just simplify as much as you can, stay true to yourself and declutter, get rid of everything that you don't need, and just try to appreciate more who you are and what you have. Don't always live above your means, but try to live below your means. Just because you think you can afford something, it doesn't mean that you can, and it doesn't mean that you should. It's not like I'm telling people to completely block any sort of expense and any fun and any exciting activity or experience. It's just about developing a more mindful relationship with money through simple, easy, achievable, frugal habits that can help you in the long run. If you want to save money and you want to have an improvement in your life, there you have it. I just gave it to you. hopefully some of my knowledge so that you can try to do some positive change in your life. So if you have enjoyed this video, please let me know by hitting that like button. I always appreciate it. It will help me so much with my channel in the never-ending fight with the YouTube algorithm. So just drop me a comment below, share this video, and subscribe to my channel if you still haven't. Thank you so much for spending time with me today. I will see you in my next video. Bye.